What things did you do as a kid that you now realize is extremely weird? There were spiders and mice in my room which totally freaked me out, so every night before I went to sleep I'd whisper a report of what the weather was outside to encourage them to go outside rather than stay inside and bite me in my sleep. 8 rose petals. My grandfather told me they are edible. I still eat one when I go visit his grave. Undefined. Purple was my favorite color, but I didn't like the word, so I called it myrtleop. Found out that the air had germs in it and tried not to breathe too much. I used to host imaginary science shows where I would get questions from viewers that I had to answer. I don't remember a lot of the questions from my fake audience, but I remember trying to explain that glass actually could let air through. And that was the explanation to how we didn't suffocate when all the doors and windows were shut. Young me did not know a whole lot about ventilation. Undefined. Super happy this didn't develop some sort of mental disorder for me later. I used to have science experiments in the bathroom sink. Meaning, I'd go to the bathroom and lock the door. Once in, I'd make sure the sink drain was shut and then proceed to add every cleaner/chemical/shampoo etc. under the sink to the sink in hopes of a reaction. Never got one. But it also never stopped me from trying. In hindsight, I probably could have killed myself if I had mixed the wrong stuff. I obviously didn't. I used to eat tissues as a kid. My mom found out one day and yelled at me to stop. As any sane parent would do, so I started eating them in secret. Sneaking away with the tissue box to another room to eat a tissue or two. Until one day when I was about 5 years old, I had to go to the hospital. I had no idea what was going on. All I knew was that I had trouble breathing through my nose. Before my operation, I was in the hospital and I overheard one of the nurses say that they just needed to remove the excess tissue in my nose. Naturally, I thought that the tissues I had eaten had started getting clogged up in my nose and I never ate a tissue again. I made the realization at 14 that it was muscle tissue in my nose and not the actual tissues I was eating. Undefined. Also wanted to add that I saw some people mention getting tissue stuck in their ears, and I had a close call in primary school when I rolled a piece of paper into a really small ball and put it into my ear. If you haven't realized I wasn't the brightest child, had to go to the medical bay to get it taken out with tweezers. When I was around 4 to 5 years old, I remember I used to sneak downstairs very early in the morning and search for any cups with that of cold sweet sugary coffee in. And drink them before anyone got up. Guess I may have been the youngest caffeine addict in Britain. Undefined. Double undefined. Third undefined. I used to waste a steep ton of water by turning on the shower and lay on the floor next to it with a towel over my body and fall asleep with a tiny bit of water splashing on my face. I used to imagine I was in a cave and it was raining outside for some reason. Ah, good times. Not me. But my partner used to keep kiwis, the fruits, as pets. He would name them and take care of his mom took them to blend into a smoothie. That was a rude awakening for him. A girl used to sit back to front on the toilet to pee. My reasoning was that way it sounded like my dad peeing and then the monsters wouldn't try to grab me. Childhood anxiety is wild. In grade 1 we would sit in a group on the floor in front of the teacher while she read us stories. I would sit at the back of the group against the wall and pull my pants halfway down my bum. I liked feeling the cool ground/wall against my bare butt. When I was in elementary school, I would use one hand to cover my butt when I showered because I was afraid that a monster would warp through the bathroom wall and attack my butthole. I didn't know that people could see my eyes move and used to have my head in one direction and look with my eyes somewhere else. It wasn't before a girl saw me looking at her and said, "What are you looking at?" I figured that out. I was 7 or 8 years old and my mind was blown. My eyes move? I would walk out the bathroom after taking a speep and spread my ass cheeks to whoever was in the living room and ask, "Is my butt clean?" One time it was the guy cleaning our carpet. I used to eat mechanical pencil lead. No idea how I got into that habit. But I think I enjoyed the crunchiness of it. Did it for a little while. But showed a classmate and she immediately went to the teacher, who then called my mom, who scolded me and told me to stop. Goodbye 0.7 mm. You will be missed. Running any lollipop or sucker I ate under the faucet water after every lick because somehow it tasted better after being rinsed. Lol. I once took a dick pic on my dad's phone because I thought it would be funny. I was 7 and I didn't know what dick pics were or what pedophilia was or anything. My dad never brought it up. Update. I asked my dad about it. He doesn't remember it apparently. Had an imaginary friend that I would make bets with. That I was guaranteed to win. The prize being ludicrous amounts of imaginary money. Hey Joe. I bet you $1 I can hold my breath for 3 seconds. God, I was rich back then. saying some gibberish all the time and thinking that it is probably meaningful in some languages. I felt smart as hell. When I was a kid, in the 80s, I had very strict teachers. Any form of back-talking or, God forbid, swearing, would get you a quick slap and a fast march to the head teacher's office to explain yourself. My teacher once set me down for a talk, as happened fairly often, which was basically her just berating me. In the middle of this, she suddenly stopped and told me I needed to keep my eyes under control, because I had this terrible nervous habit of twitching my eyes when she was talking to me. In actual fact, I was tracing out imaginary swear words with my eyes. Basically, drawing out things like piss off and shut up, tracing the letters with my eyes as if they were right in front of her face. I didn't realize she could see my eye movements. I don't know why. As an adult, it's obvious that my eyes were darting all over the place and looking crazy. But child me thought that it was subtle enough that it was unnoticeable, and that I was being super sneaky. As soon as I realized she could see it, I stopped. But looking back, probably the funniest part to me now is how much it must have unnerved her. And she never did know the reason for it. To her, I must have just been the weird kid with the crazy eyes.